Well, hello guys, welcome to The Corner, where we talk about anime, manga, and everything in between. And today we are talking about My Hero Academia. And this is going to be talking about the science of My Hero Academia and how flawed your thinking may be of it. So let's get this started, shall we? Alright, you guys, this conversation comes up because of the fact that a lot of people in my conversation keep going to go about the science of My Hero Academia and what the science really states. Well, I'm telling you right now, that science is bullcrap. And wait, before you guys click off this video because of that, understand I do have my reasons for saying that. Now, we will talk first about Season 1 before Episode 1, and that was when the first quirk was ever discovered 50 years prior. I think it was 50 years. It's somewhere around that point, because Deku's the fourth generation hero. So, yeah, I guess it would be 4th gen? Yeah, about 50, because if you take 20 years to each, that'd be about 80. If you take 10 years to each, ew, that's a little weird. 15 years each? We're not gonna try. We're not gonna try doing this, okay? We're not gonna explain that stuff or how long it's been. We just know that the first baby showed up at some point in time, and it was fairly new to them. And they don't know whether that was the first quirk or if that was the first quirk ever observed. And that's the biggest thing about the scientific theory community in this universe, is that they don't know when the original quirk actually started. But they are saying that this was the original when it actually started, but it really doesn't make sense. That the first observable one was the first one ever there. It could have been there beforehand, just nobody's ever seen it. Now, it's the first flaw of their science. Now, I'm not saying the world science is flawed. I'm saying the people that run the science are flawed. They do not know everything about quirks for it being so recent. Every science is still being updated as they learn new things, and they have to learn new things and have to put things together in order to understand what's going on. And I'm pretty sure by the end of this whole My Hero Academia thing, we're going to find out exactly when the first quirk user, where the first quirk user was, and how it all got started in the first place. And that's when we're going to be like, oh, well, that makes sense then. I guess that's probably what's going on, and that changes the whole science in the first place. Now, after this point, we get to the point of Midori being told that he doesn't have a quirk because he has 2 joints in his body. Now, they're doing a visible thing, and the doctor even says this is what we've observed through everybody that has a quirk. They usually have 1 joint. Now, that's not saying that 2-jointed people can't have a quirk. It's just that's what they've observed. It's what they theorize is the case. It's not a soundproof science. It's not something that they can be like, oh, he's not going to have a quirk because of this, because they can't dedicate that to what's going on. And it shows in the history of One Fall in the first place, when the One Fall user originally had 1 quirk that was to pass things down, but was also told he didn't have a quirk. Now, this is valid to the top of scientific community, because that quirk he had was said to not exist, because that quirk shouldn't have existed in their mind. To be able to pass down a quirk to one person to another person defies the laws of their science in the first place. Now, that is most adequately stated when Deku first gets told about One for All in the first place. And that being said, this is going to change science forever. This is going to change quirk science forever. And it's one of those things that it literally states, I believe in episode 2 or episode 3 of My Hero Academia. But also the brother of the original person's quirk also defines quirk logic as well, quirk science, and that's him stealing quirks and handing those quirks off to somebody else. If need be, he can steal a quirk, he can use it for himself, or he can take that stolen quirk and give it to somebody, and that's what he did for his little brother. He gave him a quirk that mutated with his quirk, causing One for All. This being the biggest thing out of all the sciences I can depict at this point in time, is the transferring of quirks is completely scientifically invalid compared to their science. Compared to what their science people state, that's not how quirks work. Quirks work through descendants and stuff like that. The descendant of a quirk will get either their quirk or the other parent's quirk, or get a combination of the two. But that's not necessarily true either, because of the fact that the quirks started off somewhere. The quirks had to mutate from something, and that can be stated in the DNA, and that is stated with All Might, and when he gives Deku his quirk. When he gives him the DNA, he states, you need to ingest a piece of my DNA in order to move on, in order to obtain the quirk. That's how it works. So DNA is a big aspectual point in DNA and quirks itself. DNA have the structure for quirks. And I'm going to get into a little theory I have a little bit later on, down towards the end. Now, science still doesn't understand a lot about quirks as we go on, and there's a big thing about that as well as we move on through the series and hit the end of Season 1, where a monster is created through two different quirks, and when first we think he just has super strength, we find out he has shock absorption as well, becomes a big thing. Because they created this monster to fight All Might, to be able to take him on toe-to-toe and be able to kill All Might. That meaning that they've gone through a science that's dedicated that they can transfer quirks from one person to another person, or they can activate a quirk inside a body. One way or another, they were able to make two quirks appear in one body, meaning that they go through inhumane ways to find out more things about quirks. And it seems like the villains know a bit more about quirks than the good guys in the series, actually. And this means that science still is wrong in this world. Their scientists are wrong about quirks in general. And just because the fact that quirk can be passed down, which shouldn't exist at all in this world, gets passed down. Because they don't know about the quirk. They don't know how quirks work. We can go through Season 2 if we really want to, but that's not really going to say much about anything except for the history of One for All. Because for the users of One for All, they barely know much about One for All either. They don't know exactly how One for All works. Not even the original user knows much about how One for All works. All they know is that they can stockpile power, and once they pass it down, that power dwindles as it gets passed on, and they won't be able to use it by the end of a certain amount of time. So the quirk gets done whatsoever. Now, a little bit of spoiler here. A little later on, a whole bunch of monsters end up showing up where the quirks were put in, which kind of disrupts everybody. Nobody understands what's going on because that's not part of the scientific world. They don't understand that stuff. No hero that sees it is like, how is this possible? This is obvious, this is what's happening. No, they're all like, how is this possible? This isn't scientifically correct. This shows that the science of the world is not accurate. And I'm jumping everywhere, but sorry guys. It's not completely accurate, and it shows a lot when it comes down to those situations. Deku ends up uncovering a new thing that All Might knows about, but it's like, this is probably because it's a pinnacle of what's going on, and you're starting to actually learn things, blah blah blah. But there's a lot more about One for All than what's being said. I should complete that sentence real quick. But the quirks and everything like that, from what I've researched and what I've seen, because I've done a lot of research on One for All. I've done a lot of research on quirks themselves and exactly how they work and what's going on with them. And a lot of quirks in this world have not been dedicated or talked about at all. And that being said, when I looked through the quirk list itself, there were only a handful of quirks there. Over 80% of the people in the world, and let's put the world at about our world capacity, 7 billion people. That means over 6 billion people have quirks. Well, let's do 8 billion. 6 billion people have quirks. Making 20% of those quirks, 20% of other people don't have quirks, maybe 2 billion of them have quirks. Yes, I know the math is a little flawed there, but it's just a little thing. I should just say 10 billion and 8 billion just to get it done. But the point is that there should be at least a good 6 billion quirks out there, different types of quirks out there, or even half that, 3 billion types of quirks out there that have not even been talked about, discovered, or even said anything about. It's just one thing after another. It's just, what do scientists really know about it within only a few year period? Even in our world, our science has taken millennia to advance. We used to be people that were the center of the universe on a flat earth, and everything rotated around us, to we're a ball in the sky, floating around our sun, and we're at the edge of our galaxy, which is at the edge of the universe. Well, not completely at the edge, but you know what I mean. It's just, science changes, and it's obviously changing in My Hero Academia as well. And it's been blatantly stated it has changed. But whether that's from our perspective or from the scientific community perspective is the biggest thing, because it hasn't been changed by the scientific community's perspective, because they know nothing about Wonderful or the villain that they captured yet. It's just what's going on, and obviously later on they still know nothing about that villain. They just know that he was created. Yeah. Anyways, the theory I was talking about earlier was a little bit different. My theory is that every strand of DNA on every person has the ability to have a quirk, and every DNA has all the quirks in the DNA strand. Just the thing that is that only one part of the DNA strand is dominant. And it could just be that in the DNA strand it could be depicted as strength, agility, speed. It could be depicted as special ability like fire or something like that. And certain parts of the DNA is stronger than other parts, which makes a DNA structure that can produce a quirk-like ability. But if you move up a little few of the strands, you would see that it makes a it makes a new quirk. It makes something else. It makes this. It makes that. It makes millions and millions of different possibilities for quirks. And that's my biggest theory of them all. Quirks are duplicated by DNA, and that's why you normally see a passed down quirk over a developed quirk. But a developed quirk is just a mutation. It's not really a mutation, but more of a difference in DNA structure in the end. And that's the biggest thing I have to say about that. I believe that quirks rely on the DNA, and the mystery of the quirks are in DNA, and I feel that they need to look into that more than anything else. But it's an anime series, so more than likely they've already done that. They've already looked into that stuff, and blah blah blee blue blah blah blah. So before I continue on and continue on and continue on and continue talking about this, I hope you guys have a better understanding of my thought of the world of My Hero Academia and how I figured this stuff out through several different entries, through looking things up, to actually researching a lot of this stuff and being able to tell you a depictive answer on this, where the scientists in My Hero Academia aren't 100% right. They don't know anything about quirks. They only know what they've observed so far. And I think that's the biggest point I can make. The science is continuously changing. Just like any other world, that science is changing. and I hope you guys understand a little bit more, and this helps you guys out a little bit more to understand the world of My Hero Academia and how it pertains to other things, and why these theories about quirks that never existed but do exist end up happening, because a lot of people have seen this history, but a lot of people have read this history, and a lot of people know that quirks are plausible just through what they've seen and what's been going on, and it's stuff that won't necessarily be said in the manga or anime. It's stuff that has been actually made apparent through the creator himself, who has stated certain things, who has done certain things, who wants us to know that the world is not what it seems, and there's a lot more about it than what we even know, but he's given us hints as time moves on. So, before I continue rambling, because I know I'm going to continue doing this if I keep this up, I hope you guys have enjoyed this talk, and I hope you guys will continue to watch and do whatever you guys want with me. I don't care right now. I hope you guys enjoy this, really. I really do hope you guys enjoy this. I hope you guys understand a little better on what's going on. But until the next time, you guys, I hope you guys have a great day, and a fun one as well.